It's to talk about an article that was recommended by one of our most active members in the community. It's going to be an article about AI and the impact that AI is having on the Web3 landscape and the blockchain landscape. So let's just dive into it. The article talks about data crawling and AI and how the AI data landscape is evolving. And basically, it deals with licensing, frontiers in data, and centralized versus decentralized data acquisition. So the big thing in AI is getting lots and lots of data to create reasoning from data. And the way AI does this is essentially by taking in edge cases of data, taking in billions of parameters at a time, and then creating an intelligence by feeding data inside in between these edge cases. It sounds simplified, but there's a lot of math involved. And when you do it at scale, you can get billions of combinations, billions of interpretations, and you can sort of fill in the blanks of edge case intelligence. There are a lot of parameters, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of pre-baked basic intelligence in these models, but they usually take in billions of data points to create cohesive data structures that can provide meaning and intelligence to connected apps. So once you train these models, you rent them out. You train the model has billions of parameters. You create something called MCPs, which are um, connection interfaces, so that the model can connect to um, information providers that are web connected, or so that the model can connect to applications or devices. And that allows the model to print, generate videos, generate simulations, generate images, surf the web, generate spreadsheets, generate graphs, generate PDFs, so on and so forth. So we have this interface layer, we have this data layer, we have a small reasoning or inference agent, and then we have some sort of connection pool or connection layer that allows us to sell all of this intelligence. The more data we have, the more intelligence we can sell, and data is currently our bottleneck. When you think about it, in terms of services, you will always have the same kind of services. You will always have spreadsheets, presentations, videos, text. Like the data formats that you can generate are incredibly limited. Second, the basic or free data structures are data structures that mostly everybody's going to have access to. You know, Google searches, public data, Internet Archive data, public crawls. But reasoning agencies, reasoning units are so basic that you could create one in a month with a decent team. So you don't really need a lot of reasoning, but you do need a lot of data. And then in terms of reasoning, there are really good papers that can allow you to understand what a transformer is, what attention models are, and then use that to create a reasoning agent. So that's really not the complicated part. The complicated part is getting data, a lot of data, and then doing training on that data. Something magical happens when you start training uh, these models with billions of data points. You have like so many edge cases that the system is using its inference very little, and it's only using search to give you answers. So it's gonna be a little bit of inference, a lot of search, and some recombination. And that's how this intelligence magic happens. Now, the big debate in crypto is whether this data will remain centralized and private or decentralized and public. And that is what the article is mostly about. So that's the TLDR of the article, and a brief intro to, a little bit of generative model AI, right? LLM AI. So In terms of licensing, do we want quality or do we want quantity? Do we want billions of rows of data or do we want quality data? Well, it's a catch 22, but I would say we want to mix. We really want to mix. If you don't have quantity, you really cannot scale. If you don't have quality, you cannot differentiate yourself. So we want both, but it's on to you how you create this mix. And then in terms of IP, doesn't really matter if AI labs care about IP. The law is gonna make them care eventually. So you can care now, you can care later, but eventually down the line you're gonna have to pay. But yeah, if you are able to scrape a data source that is private and you're able to create a model from it and get money from a VC, you might be expecting a lawsuit down the line, but although eventually you're gonna have to pay the piper, you might be able to create a test net or a reasoning model or a prototype without having to pay to these private data owners. So there you have it. And the other interesting part of the article is the strategic decision making model, whether we want decentralized AI or do we want proprietary AI. In terms of what happened with the internet started with a bunch of proprietary providers like America Online, that comes to mind. And then eventually the decentralized model came, it became a winner, and that was monetized by companies such as Google. Like it's kind of important to have a big data source, a proprietary data source, if you want to make money in the early stages of a technology, because there are really few competitors. But once a technology gets sufficiently adopted and a lot of competitors start entering the field, then you will need some sort of arbiter, some sort of judge, some sort of uh, review engine that can allow you to connect all of these intelligence agents and find out the best answer from them. So in that case, you will either need federation or decentralization to make the whole thing work. So I will say in the early stages of AI, of generative AI, yeah, proprietary models make the most business sense, but down the line, decentralized AI might be something better and something more robust and something more defensible in the business landscape. So just looking at some companies is a very interesting article. They have like some models here, um, and then they have some companies and uses of AI. So they mention some companies that are really interested that are doing interesting stuff. First, let's start with the proprietary companies. So most connections are done to OpenAI, obviously, the first one. Then a lot of companies are using the common crawl, the web common crawl. Then most people are connecting to Anthropic. Then obviously Google. Then Meta, which has some open source stuff. Then the Internet Archive, and then they're using just Google Search because Google Search, it gives you a little bit of intelligence. Like you can have an agent do a Google search, get the top 10 results, and if you're asking which ones are the top 10 law firms in such country, a Google search is a decent answer for those types of queries, right? So this list of proprietary AI providers, in the most cases, it's a fairly reasonable interpretation of what's going on in the marketplace right now. So it's what is working right now. The proprietary monetization model is what's working right now. If you want to use OpenAI's model, you have to pay them. If you want to use the OpenAI Pro, you have to pay a membership fee like every month. So this is what is working right now. But down the line, maybe something like DeepSeek, something open source like Meta LLMs or whatever, might make more sense. And even further down the line, we might have a Google search engine for AI models, some sort of like a United Nations for agentic AI. Think of the United Nations where you have a bunch of agents, each one represents a point of view, or each one represents a agentic AI way of thought or way of thinking or fashion of thinking, and then every answer gets put to this panel, and then you have some sort of scoring mechanism to find out which agent has the most cohesive answer, the shortest answer, the answer that resonates most with the public, the answer that touches on more points of your question, and then it serves you automatically that answer. That could be something interesting, and it's something that closely aligns to what Marvin Minsky had in his mind when he wrote the book The Society of Mind, which is kind of like a wet dream of the entire industry, creating something that is not only like one agent trained on a big data set, but a million agents trained on billions of rows of data. Each of one of these billion agents or million agents sufficiently trained so that they are as capable as a human professional. And then you will have essentially a country or a city that is answering your questions. Not even a person, but a city is like answering each and every one of your questions. So that would be like the best sort of agentic AI model that you could have, a united nations of generic AI engines. That would be really cool. But in order to do that, you need a federated model, or you need like a centralized model with a layer of sort of mediation or diplomacy in between agents. I saw some companies here, so let me just talk about that. I saw some companies in the article, which is interesting. So I saw the this report, LML Arena, really nice. It's like uh, a, system where you ask a question and then multiple AI sort of like answer you that question so that you can find which AI is the best at answering each particular type of question. So I recommend this site. You can and should try it out. It's really nice. So you can battle, put two anonymous models to battle. You can compare two models, or you can chat with each model that you want at a time, and that kind of allows you to see which model is the most appropriate for the task that you want to automate. So this is a really cool. It's called LM Arena. The other company that I saw that was really interesting was Sahara AI. So um, they are selling themselves as an open AI ecosystem. Not open AI in terms of a company, but open AI in terms that they plan to be like open and decentralized. Really, really cool company. A lot of data, a lot of services, really nice website, really clear and easy to understand. A lot of models, as you can see, a lot of tasks. Uh, so it's really cool. If you wanted me to summarize this, I would say it's sort of like a human cursor, right? So it's like they take humans, they ask them to do tasks, and then they derive some intelligence by what humans do. So it's sort of a mix between Mechanical Turk and Cursor.com. And AI developers can do a lot of stuff with this company. So if you have a lot of data and you want to label that data or analyze it and organize it, maybe give this company a look, right? So that was a really nice company that caught my attention. Then Parallel Domain, another nice company. Now they have sensor data that you can plug into an AI. Looks really sophisticated, looks really nice. Maybe this is something that we could use down the line in Bifari. But as you can see, this is like next level stuff. It gives me Google Earth vibes. It's really, really sophisticated, and this could create an open economy of sensorial data that can be used and monetized via agentic AI. So really cool stuff. The company is called Parallel Domain. So another company that is in the article, really, really highly interesting company. Then the other and final company that caught my attention was Reborn, new company with a very small count of followers. And this is a company that wants to monetize real life robotic data. So they have or plan to have a bunch of robots running around, moving around, and they plan to use the data that these robots create and generate to sell it to AI systems. So in the future, AI systems might have training data that comes from the real world, and that is like super exciting. Instead of getting um, theoretical data, these AI systems might at some point have real life, real world data that comes from real life robots. So that's really nice. And this company already has some products, and they are even promoting physical agents. So that's really neat. I don't know if they are on a closed beta status, or if they are still on stealth, or they are on a beta or testnet fashion, but this could be huge if it works. Even if it works for a limited number of tasks, there is a huge market for this kind of product, for this kind of data set. So they say they have over 50 million data points. They say they have over 12K creators. They have 10 open source models, and they say that they have half a million data contributions. So nearly half a million data contributions. So uh, really, really interesting companies, really interesting article. Um, they come up with some amazing conclusions as it pertains to Web3. I would say that this is a sector to watch. I would say that we will have um, tokenized, tokenized AGI and genetic AI solutions that um, work independently and use Web3 tokens in order to connect to multiple systems and provide financial benefits to its users. So think of a blockchain that is connected in some way or fashion, to an MCP, maybe to a um, reasoning unit or a federated unit that is connected to multiple agents, and that agent is able to do things with your token for arbitrage purposes. So for example, you will deposit some money into the platform and the system will intelligent trade for you. And it will trade for you based on the news, based on data from OpenAI, LLM data, based on stocks, based on data from Bloomberg. And you could have this agent be a dynamic trader of NFTs, of stocks, of crypto, and maybe one year this agent beats the market, and maybe this agent is able to beat the market by a lot, right? That kind of thing could revolutionize crypto. It could revolutionize finance. It could create automatic yield. It could create automatic yielding products for a myriad of markets, right? And it will obviously be a decentralized solution with some, probably with some private connections, with some connection to proprietary AI models. So in conclusion, you don't really need to choose, but you need to find your mix. How much of a public solution you want this to be? How much of a decentralized solution do you want this to be? How much of a private and proprietary solution you want this to be? Right? You need to find the right mix, and you need to find how this applies to Web3. Well, the technology is there. It's easy to understand. It's been highly, um, the kinks have been ironed. It's been highly polished. There's a multitude of providers. So there's really a lot that can be done with Web3 and AI. And that's why we see a lot of interest in AI token. It's just because at this point, a lot can be done, and a lot is needed in this new field, in this new emerging field. I'm gonna put the link to this article. I found it to be a really nice read, very interesting, and I'm also gonna put a link to these companies. I found these ones to be the most salient of the article. So, having said that, thanks for your attention, and remember to always bring life to your location.